What's going on with it, man? It's David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave. We're going to go ahead and get straight into it. So we're going to talk about today is why men need their confidence when the market sell off until January 20th, right? So let me give you a heads up. I'm going to talk about the markets, and then I'm going to go into why men need their confidence. That's going to be very much my commentary. So you're going to get probably my first commentary video for the year. And when I say commentary, what I mean is a video in which I have not done a lot of research and I have not presented a lot of data to the situation. I normally don't get on YouTube and start shooting from the hip. That's really not my style. But this is just what was put on me to do today, because I do not want an audience to where they are looking for me to just get on YouTube and shoot from the hip. Right? I want an audience where they're looking for me to present data and information to them, to present models to them, not just what I think about something or my thoughts, because my thoughts are not relevant to data. Right? My thoughts are not relevant to facts. None of those are relevant to facts. So I can have thoughts that if you drop a bowling ball and you drop a feather out of a window at the same time, my thoughts can be that the bowling ball is going to fall faster, but that's not a fact. So I want people to really realize when they're asking people for their thoughts on stuff, I'm trying to help you understand that my thoughts are never going to be more important than a fact. And you shouldn't be beholden to my thoughts over facts. All right. That's just the reality. So then the goal is, how do you determine what is a fact? So this is going to be one of the first videos I've done this year, and maybe the only video I do all year where I kind of just give you my opinion and my perspective on stuff with no facts being brought to the table, right? So that's what we're going to talk about. Really quickly, this particular show is being sponsored by www.thehighestpaid.online. What we're going to talk about today is the market selling off. And the reason why you want to look at the Lazy Investor stock course is because if this market sells off all year, it would have been a great time to buy the market. And that's what you want to always understand. Trump's only going to be in the market at most. Trump's only going to be in office at most 4 years. That's a fact. He's not going to go past that. I don't care what anybody tries to sell you. So let's say hypothetically, or let's say we have a scenario where the market is down all 4 years. Okay, then buy the market. Because what happened is the market eventually will go up, and you would have bought the market when we call a trough or at a low point, and then you can ride it back up, similar to what happened during the pandemic. But you won't know how to do that if you don't understand a very basic, literally I wouldn't say hands-free, but stress-free way to invest. And something I've been very, very successful at, right, is teaching people these type of skill sets. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, and I'm going to probably show you a video in which I talk about it a little bit later. But I have a long track record of success that's greater than the testimonials I have, because I'm dealing in the finance space and it's about money. Many people are not really, I would say, eager to talk about the money that they're making, because they probably are worried about somebody else looking at them. So if I was just doing something else and people like, yeah, I just like what Dave says, it'd be different, but there's actually results behind what we're doing here. I'm going to talk about that in February. But I want you to understand is that we have a long track record of helping people in these particular space understand how to solve these problems. It's just what we've been blessed to be able to provide to the public, actually tangible stuff, not just feel good stuff, not just I like what he says, right? Because I was very much inspired by Black organizations that came before me, many of them that are still here, but some of that came before me that actually built organizations, not just a bunch of people using a bunch of words, right? We got enough of that out here right now, right? Everybody got a YouTube, they just be talking. But when you look at what they're building behind the YouTube, it's nothing but just some more talking, right? So that's something we're going to talk about. So I want to really encourage people to look into the Lazy Investor stock course. It's at a great price. It's designed to get you in and to get you started accumulating. Because again, if the market sells off this whole 4 years he's in, it would have been probably the best time this decade to get into the market, right? So what we're going to talk about is why men need their confidence with a market sell off until January 20th. We picked January 20th as Trump's getting inaugurated. We saw a lot of really, really bearish activity in the market today. But one thing that we do see is that we're moving around a particular line. So let me go ahead and show that real quick. Let me get on out of here. So I traded this today. So here is the 7th. We saw the gap up, right? And I saw that before I left. I had to go take care of something this morning. We saw the gap up before I left. And then we saw us just sell down the rest of the day. One thing I do like is that we hit this 386 level and we bounced up off of it. So that 386 level, we've been around that level for a very long time. So if you go, just keep zooming out, you see us up and around that 386 level. right? And if we go out to the month, we've been around. This was the Federal Reserve talk, right? So this is where we went, hit it again, sold under it. I think we opened under it, moved over it, pretty much hit it here. This is the other level, the 600 level, went all the way back under it. So we've been around this level really since December, right? So we see that today we hit it. It had a very strong resistance on the 1 minute. I haven't looked at the 15 or other candles, right? This is just a 1 minute candle. And so what we want to look for is, does the VIX stay elevated? And where do we think we go from here? Right? Because personally, I didn't expect the market to be this bearish here. Now, here's some of the issues. Some data came out this morning and showed that employment was a little bit higher than what people anticipated. And inflation could be a little bit stickier than what people thought. So what they're now factoring in, the bond traders are factoring in, is that they're not going to cut rates at all this month, which means they won't cut rates till March, because there's not going to be no emergency meeting. That's internet stuff, right? Unless there's like a war or something, they're not going to cut everything and do an emergency meeting to cut the rate. So what the bond traders are telling us is that they don't believe that there's going to be any rate cut this month. And I think the FOMC meeting is the last week of January, which means that there won't be a rate cut until March. So it means that we'll have these elevated rates until March. Now, Trump came out, he said two things that are contradictory, right? He really said more things than that. So first thing is, I was listening to it while I was moving around the city. I was over there off that Peachtree, some cold houses on that Peachtree. I forgot the name of that Peachtree Street. I forgot the name. I'll look it up. There's some cold houses over there, like real cold. So I was moving down that Peachtree because I had to go to Lenox, not the mall, but I had to go to Street Lenox to do something else. And he said that Babbitt was the only person that got killed on January 6th. That's false, because they killed a police officer, right? And then he also said that inflation is higher, but the rates are too high. So that don't really make sense, right? So if the rates are too high, but inflation is too high, I don't know what they do. So do you want them to lower the rate and you think that's going to lower inflation? Or do you want them to keep the rate high and you think that's going to bring down inflation? So I don't know, right? But that's bro. That's how bro do. He do what he do, right? So the bond traders are telling us that they believe that inflation will continue to persist. So what they're asking for is a higher yield on the bond, right? So one of the reasons why we had a sell-off today is because the 10-year went up. So it's a 10-year on the 5-day, but here's the 1-day. So we see around 10 o'clock that 10-year start to spike. So as that 10-year starts to spike, equities are going to sell off. It's just an algo that's doing it. It's really a program, right? If that 10-year hits a certain number, that the SPY's going to sell off. And we saw the Qs sell off really aggressively today too, right? So that's going to happen. It's just an algo that's doing that. So we got to see, when are they going to do another bond auction and where that 10-year kind of falls. But if bond traders are asking for higher yields, it's going to drive the market down. And so that's why you always got to understand is that the market is always bigger than one person. It's bigger than Trump. It's bigger than Elon Musk. It's bigger than any one person, because they can't control bond traders, right? Bond traders are going to do what they're going to do. They're going to trade their book, right? So you got to realize is that the beauty of this game is that no one person has control, right? In people's minds, they have control, but the way they set this game up, there is no one person that has control. That's why you got to form groups, because one person is nobody in this game. Even Elon Musk, worth $300 billion. I heard that's his net worth. I could be incorrect, but he's considered one of the richest people in the world. He can't control this market because he can't control bond traders. And if bond traders are aggressive enough in demanding a high enough yield, the whole market sells off, right? And it doesn't matter what anybody says. The whole market sells off. Right. And then if the market sells off, people that have their net worth in the market, they lose their net worth because bond traders have demanded a higher yield for them to buy the bonds. So to get action on the bonds, they're saying we want a higher yield. The reason why they want a higher yield is because they believe that inflation will continue to persist. So $1 worth today is not going to be the same thing as $1 worth in 5 years. So that's why we're seeing that action on that 10-year start to go up on that yield rate. They want higher yields on that 10-year to compensate for the fact that they believe that inflation is going to be higher. So when you understand how these puzzles go together, you understand how these different marketplaces worked, and this is what they've built. They've integrated all these markets. These markets impact each other, right? Another thing you got to look out for is that if If they raise the rate in Japan, it's going all that carry trade is going to get deconstructed. And it's going to also make the equity market sell off, because what they do is they borrow money in Japan, they bring it back to the United States, and they invest it, and then they just pay back what they owe, because there's a big disparity between the yen and the USD. So these are how these markets are integrated. So what we want to look for, we know that the market's closed on Thursday because of Jimmy Carter. How does the market open tomorrow? And then how does it really look next week? Right? Because again, bond traders are factoring in on this particular auction that they believe that inflation is going to continue to be sticky. So I don't know if we got a PCE data drop today. I don't know if we got a PCI. I don't know if that's dropping this month. I haven't really looked yet, but that's what we want to look for. We also want to look for earnings. So we're going to do some earnings this week. Next week, we know we're going to get bank earnings. And then that next week, we're going to get tech earnings. So I think we should get tech earnings right before FOMC meeting, right? And how they guide is going to be really, really important. So that's something that you want to look out for, okay? Let me know if you got any questions on that. We're going to take a 30-second break, and then we're going to get into the next segment. Okay, cool. So no questions. We're going to go ahead and roll into this next segment, man. We're going to get up on out of here on a Tuesday, right? So let's talk about this particular concept. And it's something that I just was put on me to really talk about this, right? Because I am an advocate for men, because with men, without men, we don't have nothing. I don't care what nobody tells you. Don't be fooled. Don't allow Satan to deceive you. If you want to know the value of men, just walk outside your house and look around. That's all you got to do. You got to do nothing else. Go inside your home and hit the switch. If the electricity cut on, go inside your bathroom, flush the toilet, go to sleep with confidence that that roof not going to fall on your head. So if you want to know the value of men, that's all you have to do, right? Go to your city center and look who's doing the construction. That's all you got to do. So I'm always going to be an advocate for men, because I said this, and I'm going to continue to say this. When America totally diminishes men, that's going to be the end of this. It's not the rest of the stuff these people talking about. They don't know what they're talking about, right? When they finish doing that, that's going to be the end of the situation, okay? And so the America that you know is going to be dead. So I'm an advocate for men, because I really believe that's the only thing that's going to keep this country going, is if we try to figure out how to invest and build up men so they can be productive citizens in this particular society, so we can keep society going, right? Because if you kill a man, if you get rid of a man, you're not just getting rid of somebody that can work a 9 to 5. You're getting rid of somebody that can build a house. You're getting rid of somebody that can build a building. You're getting rid of somebody that can do electrical work. You're getting rid of somebody that can do plumbing. You're getting rid of somebody that can do all those things. So yes, a woman being able to birth a child is very important, but these women don't want to live outside on their back. They don't want to go to sleep on the middle of the ground. So somebody has to build things for them. So they have to understand the value of people that are building things for you to go live inside. And something that American women don't understand is that they have a lot of luxury because of this environment in America that they're not aware of, because other women don't have those same luxuries. They take this stuff for granted, right? And there's a lot of places in the world that you can go to where you can't flip on a switch and get electricity or get running water. And that's just how people live their life. Trump talked about today how pretty much large areas of Ukraine have just been destroyed. Large areas of Gaza have just been destroyed. Somebody has to now go in and rebuild all of that if they're going to rebuild it. And it's going to take men to do it, right? That's just the reality of the situation, right? Men going to have to go in there and rebuild all those areas that have been destroyed through these wars, right? So when we get rid of men, we're getting rid of people that have the ability to go do that. We're not at a stage yet where robots can do all this stuff, right? Because it's very, very detailed and sometimes very discretionary work, right? So that's why we're going to talk about this. So one of the downsides of talking about this is you sometimes attract the wrong people because of how they've been socialized by internet. And then people try to put a label on you that you can't put on me because I'm not in none of them cliques, right? And I told you from the gate what clique I represent, that's what it is. You're not in it, so you don't know of nothing about it. But you can't put none of those jackets on me because none of those jackets don't fit, right? But you need your confidence as a man. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, how can you be expected to win the competitive marketplace and you don't have confidence? The way this game called capitalism has been set up, it's a competitive environment. What do I mean by that? It's been set up to deny people stuff. That's how it's been set up. It has not been set up to provide people everything. It's been set up to deny people things. So when you step out into the marketplace, you're competing with other people, right? If you don't have your confidence, you can't compete. You're in a competitive environment. So when you walk out of your house, you have to compete against other people, right? So if you're not confident about your ability to bring certain things to the table, you're not confident in your skills, you're not confident in what you can do, you cannot be successful, right? And then if you don't have your confidence, you can never get past a certain level. So you could have the ability, but if you don't have the confidence, you'll never think that I can do better than what I'm currently doing, because why? I don't have confidence in myself. So somebody will talk about you not winning, but don't realize that they have not built the confidence in you. And then what they also doing is they're destroying your confidence to be competitive, right? So that's just, we're in a competitive environment. I didn't build it this way. That's how I was when I was born. But we're in an environment that's designed to discriminate against people and also deny people what they need, right? It's designed that way. So if you're telling a man that you want him to be successful in an environment, or you're a man and you're trying to be successful in this environment, if you don't have your confidence, how will you do it? Because you're not confident. So how can you be expected to win? So when we have these kind of conversations and we don't factor in a lot of these other things, they talk about all this intersectionality, but they just saying these words that they heard in college. They don't understand what they're really saying. But you're telling people that they need to be successful in the competitive landscape, but they're supposed to be successful with no confidence. They're supposed to have no confidence but be successful. It don't work that way. It doesn't, right? So when I showed you that gift of Vince Carter doing that dunk against the Pacers, well, you don't believe that you can beat somebody baseline and then you could go under the basket, because if you actually saw that dunk, he was under the rim, right? And then you could come from under the rim and then essentially do, really was a Dominique Wilkins dunk. He went between the legs and then dunked it behind his head. You got to be confident to know that you can do that. That doesn't come from not having confidence in yourself, right? That's on the NBA level. That's not like he in LA Fitness somewhere. So he doing this against some of the best athletes in the world. That don't mean nothing to him, because he know what he can do. So you can't be expected to be successful in the competitive marketplace and you don't have confidence. It is impossible. And so the reason why a lot of people don't move forward with anything is because they don't have the confidence to believe that they can be successful. So they just sit there and let things happen to them. So then how do we build up their confidence to where they understand what they can actually do and be successful? It's not about being a millionaire, but they're not being successful about anything. They're going to waste their life away because really it's a confidence issue. They don't have confidence in themselves, right? Understand something. If you're a man, the game that they are playing is about control. They have been socialized to want to control you, right? So when you're dealing with people where they're trying to tear down your confidence all the time, it's about control. They want to control you. And there's a spirit in the land that is telling a lot of people, if you can control men and get them to do what you want to do, right, that's a success story. So what people are looking for is that they want to find somebody that can win in capitalism, and they want to try to control that person like they're a child. And if they can pull that off, then they feel like they did something. And you got to understand, like, that's what's going on. That's a spirit in the land. And so people got to be wary of this when you're dealing with people. It don't mean that you can't, you have to be rebellious. Didn't say that. Don't mean that you got to be insubordinate. Didn't say that. So don't take that from it, right? What I'm saying is that somebody thinking, I want somebody that's going to win at capitalism, which is a competitive environment, but then I want to try to control them, right? And then so I need to figure out what kind of game I can play on this person. And if they won't let me control them, they're not a good person, because they won't let me control them. But you want somebody that is confident enough to win that capitalism. So why would they let you control them? Not saying again that they should be rebellious, not saying that they should be reckless, not saying they should be insubordinate, but why should they let you control them? The thing is that they have been socialized to want to control you, right? Because they think that's the order of things. They think that's how this dynamic should work, right? So you got people that they want the man to make all the money so they don't have to do nothing, but then they want to control the man. How that's going to work? Because if he's successful a certain way in capitalism, it means that he's out competing other men. But then he gonna let you Geppetto the situation. How does that work? There's a really good movie about this type of framework where you have this woman that wants to control this man. It's y'all remember Vin Diesel, but it was really the Reddick series called Pitch Black. It was the second one they did out of that series. And the black woman that's from the UK, she was in that movie. She's real slim. And she was trying to Geppetto the situation with her husband. It was real obvious, right? Because she wanted to control him to get what she wanted to get in that particular environment. So she just tried to put her control game on him. And he went for it because he was trying to make her happy, right? But it was detrimental to him because why? Riddick stepped into the environment, and Riddick ain't tripping on none of that because he don't have no woman behind the scenes trying to put a hand in his back. So he just doing what he do. So I don't want to give up the movie, but I'm going to just say it to say it. Her husband lost out to Riddick because Riddick wasn't constantly worrying about, am I making this woman happy with what I'm doing? Because really she was trying to control her husband. It's a really, really good movie. When you get into that kind of dynamic of the situation, it's way deeper than like the science fiction effects. That's one of Vin Diesel's better movies because he's a very limited actor. Like he's very limited in range. So that's one of the better movies they put him in, right? So y'all should check that out if y'all get a chance. Thandie Newton can really, really act, though. Big up to her. Another thing, they've been socialized to be scared of you in a position of authority. This is also a spirit that's in the land, right? Where if you're in a position of authority, most importantly, if you're a black man, I'm scared of you, right? That's a very strong spirit that's in the land. So to make sure you never get into that position, I'm going to destroy your confidence. So you never think you should be in a position. But then I'm going to ask you for things that are a result of you being an authority. So if I'm not an authority, I'm not talking about myself personally, but if a person is not an authority, they can't provide certain stuff to you because I'm not an authority. But then you scared of me being an authority, so you're doing everything you can do to defeat me being an authority, but then you're asking me for things that come as a result of me being an authority, which is also designed to destroy my confidence because I can't provide them to you if I'm not an authority. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So that's why I tell a lot of people, you got to be wary of these ideologies that you are kind of attaching yourself to, because many of them are coming from a certain spirit and you thinking they're telling you something, you don't really know what's really driving these ideologies that you just thinking is just the best thing since sliced bread. Right? But they've been socialized to be scared of you in a position of authority. This thing been going on for hundreds of years. So then we recruit people to destroy the confidence of the men so they never get into a position of authority. And I'm not talking about I don't know what the name of that book that's been proven to be false. The Willie Lynch Project. I'm not talking about that. That book has been proven to be artificial, right? I'm talking about this goes back farther than that. So the book is a representation of what people do, but the book has been proven to be not the real deal, right? Here's another thing. You can't prove you're a good guy to somebody that hates you, right? So a lot of men are tasked, but most importantly, a lot of black men are tasked with, you got to go overboard to prove to everybody you're a good person. Because they have a preconceived notion about you, right? Well, if somebody hates you, you can't do that because they hate you. So there's nothing that you're going to be able to do. I'm not saying that you should get in conflict with them. I'm saying that if somebody literally hates you because you're a man, but most importantly, because the majority of my audience is black men, if somebody hates you because you're a black man, there's nothing you're going to be able to do to prove that you're a good guy. But we're telling men that you need to do all of this to prove that you're a good guy, to prove that you're a suitable guy. Well, if the person hates you, it don't matter, right? Miss Alexander says something that's very, very powerful on my YouTube the other day. She says a person got to find their happiness inside themselves. You can't make another person happy if they just committed to not being happy. There's nothing you can do, but that's a control mechanism. See, if I'm dealing with somebody and they're committed to not being happy, I cannot make them happy. So I'm spending all my time trying to figure out how to make them happy, but they can't be made happy. So now I'm on a hamster wheel. But you got people telling men that your job is just to try to figure out how to make your wife happy all the time and to make your girl happy all the time. But what if they can't be made happy? How do I do that then? Because happiness got to come from that person first. See, so you're trying to prove to somebody you're a good guy. They really don't like you like that. They have an issue with you as a man. And so what you do is you'll be chasing yourself, or that proverbial chasing your tail, but you'll be on a hamster wheel forever trying to make this work. If somebody doesn't like you, you can't make them see you a certain way. It's impossible. But you'll try to do that. And so that's what I want you to understand, is that these are some of the things that people are dealing with in this particular situation. So Amika, you saying you can't hear the sound? If y'all can hear the sound, let me know. So the next thing you want to do is you want to balance your pride and your confidence. So you need confidence, but you got to be careful that it goes into the prideful situation. Right? And so what I mean is that you can end up being prideful. Appreciate it, y'all. You can end up being prideful thinking that's your confidence. And that's something that myself, I've had to worry about. Am I being prideful instead of being confident? But again, a lot of people going to see your confidence as being prideful because that's how they've been programmed. But you as an individual person, you got to be careful that you're not being confident. You're coming with a lot of pride, because pride is what defeats a lot of men. So you got to internally watch that. You got to evaluate your own self, right? But a lot of people are going to see your confidence as pride. And especially as a black man, a lot of people are going to see your confidence as pride. I learned that when I started working in corporate medical, that I would see Anglo men move a certain way. And if I moved that same way, people had an issue with it. I started realizing, that was like in my early 20s when I started realizing that. Right? And so I realized that people's perception of me moving a certain way is different than their perception of moving a certain way. But we doing the exact same thing, because I'm not supposed to move like that. I'm not supposed to have that level of confidence. Right? I'm not supposed to have that level of confidence. I'm supposed to try to make everybody like me. I'm supposed to try to figure out how to be the mascot. That's what I'm supposed to do. See? So I realized that real early, that their perception and the way they've been socialized to see me was totally different than how they've been socialized to see Anglo being. See? So many people outside of you are going to always see your confidence as pride, and they're going to want to try to bring it down because, again, they want to control you because they've been programmed to feel that's the best situation for them, is to control you. If I can only just control you, then I can make this thing go the way I want it to go. They do not want you to be in a position of authority, right? That's a spirit that's going across this land. So now they are being ministered to by that spirit. So they're going to get in accord or get on one accord with that spirit. And that's what they're going to work with. And it don't matter what they say come out their mouth. Look at their actions in dealing with you. Right? You got whole churches built around this type of stuff. I'm telling you a fact. You got whole churches built around diminishing men. Not just black men. You got whole churches built around diminishing white men. You got whole ministries built around diminishing men. Right? But they frame it in a certain type of way, but no, it's really about diminishing men. Right? So the people that's going to it, they on accord with that particular type of ideology. Okay, let's keep going. So when you look at the world, people are mad at Elon Musk. Where have you seen his behavior be used to indict Anglo men? If I spelled indict right. It won't happen. So you as a black man, they're going to see you different. So Elon Musk can go out here, have all these kids out of wedlock, right? He can do this, do that, say this, say that, get involved in this. And nobody says that's what's wrong with Anglo men. Won't happen. They'll talk about Elon Musk, they'll talk about billionaires, but they'll never say, well, that's what's wrong with Anglo men. When a black man does something, it's what's wrong with black folks. It's what's wrong with black men, right? It immediately jumps to that. And so you see this over and over and over and over and over again throughout life, where certain individuals can do certain stuff and it's just them, But when it's you, it's everybody that look like you. That's what's wrong with that. And so what we saw in this country is that Anglo women tried to come at Anglo men with a certain message, and Anglo men rejected that. So what Anglo women did is told black women, well, y'all try to do the same thing to black men, but black men will socialize and entertain that. So black men entertain this stuff. Anglo men told they women, we're not going to entertain this stuff from y'all. It's not going to happen. But black men to sit back and entertain it, they'll go back and forth. Their debate won't happen with Anglo men. They're not going to entertain it. Other men and other ethnicities, Indian men not going to entertain that. It'll blow your mind if you understood what Indian men was doing to women inside India. But they're not going to entertain on narrative that something's wrong with them. They won't even entertain it. Right? So you got to realize that people are playing a power and control game with you. And it's designed to destroy your confidence so they can do what? So they can control you. That's what they're going to do. Because at the end of the day, they just want to control you. Because America is a competitive landscape. There's a pecking order here. There is a caste system here. So everybody's trying to figure out how they can put somebody up under them. Right? So they're willing to ingest any message that I think going to put this other person up under me. It's not going to be no partnership. It's going to be a flunky system. You're going to be a flunky to me. Right? So I'm going to talk about in February how I built my business during the pandemic. And one of the reasons why my first student was so successful is because she was not scared to have me be in a position of authority in that situation. She had no issue with that. Right? So I want you to understand that's one of the reasons why she was so successful. Okay? So again, real quick, we ain't gonna be here long. You need your confidence as a man, right? You can't do anything. This is a competitive landscape in America. Nobody's giving us anything, right? Nobody's giving us anything. So you got to be able to leave your house and be successful in competing for resources. You can't do it if you don't have your confidence. It's impossible. Then you can't do it because you don't have your confidence. And somebody gonna turn around and say, well, you're deficient because you don't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But they don't want you to have your confidence because they want to be in control over you. Because they really worried about you being in a position of authority. Because they can't stand that. Because of the spirit that they let minister to them. And I ain't gonna get into that. That's a whole other conversation. I ain't trying to sit there and have church with y'all. But there's a spirit that they let minister to them, whether they know it or not. And they are adhering to these particular ideologies that are a byproduct of literally mystery schools from this spirit. I know how the mystery school system works. So you got people that are literally byproducts of students of these mystery schools that adhere to this spirit that is telling them you need to try to diminish and control men for whatever reason. Right? So that's their mission. That's the mission they on. That's their assignment. And then you dealing with them and you trying to figure out, well, how come this happened, this happened, this happened, this? Because you don't realize that person you're dealing with, man, they dealing with a spirit and their job is to diminish you because we're going to roll it all the way back. Who is the enemy of the original man? So when you understand that, you understand all this going to fall right into place. It's like a puzzle. But because people don't know this type of stuff, they think this stuff just happening. Who's the enemy of the original man? That's in the Bible. That ain't nothing like, you ain't got to look that on YouTube. It's in the word. Who's the enemy of the original man? Once you learn that, everything gonna make sense. So that's what I want you to understand. You got to figure out how to get your confidence. You got to figure out how to build your confidence. And then you got to figure out how to create people around you that are going to support your confidence. You don't need to be an authoritarian. You don't need to be a dictator. You don't need to be a despot. That's not what it's about. You have to govern yourself to make sure that you're not being prideful. You do need your confidence. But you can't do anything in this world without your confidence, right? It's just impossible because nobody's giving you anything. Ain't no set asides for us, right? So if you don't have your confidence, you can't provide for you and your group, but you can't have people in your group constantly trying to destroy your confidence because they are fearful of you being confident and they're fearful of you being authority because they're dealing with a spirit. And they really dealing with people that are byproducts and these people on YouTube coming out of these particular schools where their job is to make sure that men get diminished. And it ain't just females doing it, it's men doing it too. Because they buy the products of that same school. There's mystery schools, they teach this type of stuff. I'm telling you how it's worked. So that's what I want you to understand. So we got any questions, comments? we're going to get going. Like I said, I ain't going to be here long, man. It was an impromptu video, something I just wanted to get off. So we're going to look to see how the market opens tomorrow. Mr. Stone came through. Big up to Mr. Stone. He came through and said that the 30-year is coming out tomorrow. Let's see how that auction goes. And then we'll see. We know the market going to be closed on Thursday. I don't know why they don't close the market on Friday. We make it a 3-day weekend, but it's whatever. They're going to close the market on Thursday. Let's see how we go into Friday. So, Zavi, brother, the majority of things that you want to learn is all Googleable. So I would Google mystery schools and then just go down the rabbit hole, because that's not really the tone. That's not really the topic of what we're talking about today. And that's definitely not the topic of this particular channel. That's not what the channel is based around. But brother, I would go Google it and then just be willing to do the 10,000 hours of research. Right. But appreciate the question. So we got any of the questions before we bounce up out of here. Let me do the super chats. Miss Phoenix 91, appreciate it. The $2. Big up to Toledo, Ohio. Hope everybody stay warm where they at. Right. We know it's a big cold front on the East Coast. Big Terrence, man, appreciate the $4.99 super chat. Pascal, man, appreciate the $4.99. Jay Wood, appreciate the $5. Right. Big up to Anthony Bass, man. Always give me props on the course, man. Big up to Bass. What's up to Miss Brandy Williams, man? Hit up for your taxes, man. Y'all know y'all got to get your taxes in. You know, y'all know y'all want y'all deductions and things of that nature. What's up to Cincinnati? Glad I'm not in that cold. So Miss Phoenix 91 says, having no confidence in competitive marketplaces like water not being wet, it simply cannot happen without dire consequences. I 100% agree, Miss Phoenix. You got to have some confidence. It can be very rough out here without any confidence, because things have happened and you got to have the belief that you can overcome it and be successful. And without that, Miss Phoenix, I've seen a lot of men my whole life just quit because they don't have confidence in themselves. But that confidence was beat out of them over the course of their life by a lot of different people. So they can't deal with no kind of stress, right? But everybody's worried about them actually being a confident stand-up person. That's their biggest fear. So at a very young age, they look to really beat that out of them. So it's real out here. Okay, so it's Chronicles of Riddick. Yeah, it's a good movie. Yeah, with Thandie Newton. Big up to Thandie. Exactly, Christian. People hate when you're the best and people hate you when you're worse. Exactly. So, Christian, I just tell people, go ahead and be the best. They're going to hate you either way. Right? Because if I was poor, they had 3 cents to rub together, they'd be calling me all kind of names. Since I'm not poor and I got more than 3 cents to rub together, they got a problem with that. They just going to try to backdoor me, as opposed to they could just call me names up front. So now they got to figure out a whole other way to come at me. Right? But either way, it's going to be an issue, because I'm just supposed to sit back and let them just, I'm supposed to sit back in my house and figure out what they want out of me every day. I'm not going to do that. And people say, well, you're just being rebellious. I'm being rebellious to BS. I'm not being rebellious to what's right. I'm being rebellious to BS. God didn't put me on this planet for me to sit in my house and rack my brain about what them people want. God didn't put me here for that. So I feel you on that one. Chris says a black man's confidence come off as angry, uppity black man. Definitely. You know, you're arrogant, yada, yada, yada. And people don't understand, for a lot of us, what we've had to do to build ourselves up, because we didn't get the advantages that a lot of people got. You know, Elon Musk's father had a whole diamond and emerald mine. You know, Trump come from money. You know, all Trump ever known his whole life is money. So a lot of these people, Zuckerberg, come from money. A lot of these people come from bread. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of us have had to build ourselves up from the bottom. We had to build everything up organically. And so you had to put a certain level of confidence in yourself to feel like you could go do that. And people don't understand that. We don't talk about black men having to do that. You know, so it is what it is. So Christian, man, appreciate the $5 super chat. What's up to Davey Lee? So I got a cash out. Appreciate it, bro. I'll see it when it comes through. So appreciate it. So that's going to be it, man. We're going to get up on out of here. Appreciate everybody for coming through. Y'all stay safe, stay warm. You know, we're going to get through this. It's going to be cold all month out here in the metro. So it's just something you got to deal with. Like I said, you got to have your confidence up, right? to deal with this cold. At least I do, for me. So it's a mind thing. So we'll get through this month. We only got, I don't know, 20-something more days, and we'll be up out of here, man, so we can get us some more warm weather. I'm going back to the South in the spring, so, you know, I got to get me some sunshine sooner or later. So y'all stay safe, man. Talk to y'all later.